faith. This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me when we'll Olympus.
Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, where we take a glance into blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Christian, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend / my co-host, Devin. And today, we're here to give our spoiler-free thoughts about House of the Dragon, Episode 9, the penultimate episode, which is titled The Green Council. And before we begin today's episode, you can listen to our podcast on podcast platforms around the internet. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Audible, and more. And if you are a new or seasoned listener to our show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X. Or you can email us at filmoptix@gmail.com for any movie-related questions. Devin, we're recording here on a Saturday. It's finally the weekend.
We're in the midst of spooky season, right in the smack dab of the middle of October.
Yes,
we're here.
Watching any spooky movies lately?
Well, I saw Halloween Ends last night. Obviously, we'll be covering that shortly. I also rewatched X. Just felt right.
Pearl's coming November. She's coming to Blu-ray.
And I also have some big news as far as a show I've started. I started Daredevil.
Oh, there we go. Nice. I thought you were going to say
Two episodes in.
I thought you were going to say Game of Thrones for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Devin's just like, I just love this world so much. I'm gonna watch.
Just dive
seasons.
In. 3 seasons of Daredevil feels like a lot, so we'll see how long this takes.
It is a lot. I think it's like 12 or 13 episodes, something like that per season.
Hour each.
Yeah. So when I watched it, it took me a while because I think I watched season 1 and 2 back to back, and then right before season 3 came out. Unfortunately, I did watch The Defenders, but yeah, just watch a recap video because it just it really is a Daredevil story, but it just makes it even longer. But yeah, if you skip from 2 straight to 3, you're going to be so lost. So definitely take a break after 2, get that recap in there before you move on. But as for me, I also watched Halloween Ends, not Halloween's Ends, this past, a few days ago. I'm trying to figure out, since I've finished Bly Manor, there's 2 more Flanagan movies I want to get to, but I want to take a bit of a detour. I picked up Evil Dead 1 and 2 it was like a second Prime Day sale that they had going on. There was a few okay deals there. I was like, but the ones that I did pick out, they were like $10 each, which is awesome. And
I picked up 2. I already had 1. They look really cool.
Yeah. It'll be my first time watching them. I got to watch both of those. I need to watch The Batman, of course, because that is a very Halloween movie. And I got to watch the Shaun of the Dead trilogy, which I've actually never seen.
You've never even seen Shaun of the Dead?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. It's so good. The whole trilogy is really good, but Shaun of the Dead's special.
Yeah, that's what people keep telling me. I've seen some clips and stuff, but I've never watched it all the way through. So I picked up that trilogy, the 4K trilogy. I think it was only $20, but apparently it's very hard to find them. And I was like, well, here they are. So yeah, I think those are going to be the ones I watch. And as well, I got to finish my Scream run. I got to do Scream 3, Scream 4. And of course, I have to top it all off with the Fear Street trilogy.
Yep.
And then, of course, I might make my round back to the last 2 Flanagan movies. I think it was his first feature film. And then there's another one. It's not Gerald's Game. It's not Hush. I've already seen both of those. There's another one he made, and I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, I got
there's
those 2.
Oculus, and there's Ouija.
Those are the 2. Yeah, those are the 2 that I need to watch. So have you seen either of those?
Yeah, I've seen both. The first Ouija movie was really bad, and then he made that sequel, and everyone was like, wow, how is this so good? Because the first one was so bad, he was just like, well, I'll take over.
Hey, Mike Flanagan really knows how to do his thing. And I want to point out a few days ago, earlier this week, it was the 4-year anniversary of The Haunting of Hill House. Not only was it the 4-year anniversary for that, but it was also, I think, I don't know if it was his 3rd or 4th year of Mike Flanagan being sober. So that just makes Haunting of Hill House probably that more special because it came out on that anniversary, which is really awesome. Marking probably his first year or something of that nature. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, those are a few spooky things that I'm gonna try to chuck through as many as I can this weekend, because now I was worried how long this is gonna take me to go through Bly Manor, and okay, now I've gotten the last series, horror series out of the way. Now I can just kind of blow through these movies, so I should be good to go. I'm gonna start from the bottom, work my way up, and see how far I get. But with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we are here to talk about the one, the only penultimate episode of House of the Dragon. Again, that is titled The Green Council. And as we've been doing before, of course, this will not be dropping until 10 p.m., a hour after the air date, because we got some updates from the big man upstairs from Warner Brothers. But I want to take this time to thank Warner Brothers for allowing us to get these a little bit early for you guys. We're not able to do pre-coverage moving forward, so that's another thing I wanted to tell everyone before we kind of move on with this review. Of course, we are going to be talking about spoilers from episodes 1 through 8 if you haven't seen those. But for episode 10, we will not be getting screeners sent for those. Warner Brothers kind of sent us an email saying, that we have to watch that real time, which is understandable because, spoilers and things, they don't want all the big secrets to be getting out. So we will be covering episode 10. I believe we're actually thinking about doing a spoiler for that one, since we have to watch it, when it airs, when everyone else watches it anyway. So this will be the last spoiler-free review we do for the entire season 1, coming to the end of the road. But I wanted to throw that out there really quick. So of course we're going to be getting into our introductions, our initial reactions of this, our final thoughts. We're not going to give our ratings until episode 10, which will be, again, that will be spoilers, because that's probably going to drop on a Monday, the Monday after, because again, we're not going to be getting any pre-screeners for that. So just wanted to throw that all out there. So it's all out in the air, and I feel a lot better. But that was just a handful to say. But Devin, are you ready to travel back to Westeros to talk about the Green Council this episode?
The penultimate.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this introduction to House of the Dragon, episode 9, titled The Green Council.
The road ahead is uncertain, but the end is clear. We are better defended.
Against whom?
Whomever may dare to challenge us. The threat of war looms. The gods have yet to make a man who lacks the patience for absolute power, Your Grace.
And we are back. You just heard a little snippet of House of the Dragon, episode 9. Again, this is the penultimate episode, the second to last episode of season 1, titled The Green Council. So we're just going to kind of dive on in here for our initial reaction. So I'm going to pass it over to Devin, because I've been talking up a storm. So I'm going to pass it over to him so he can give his initial reactions for House of the Dragon, episode 9. So Devin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how this one is received, because there are definitely some interesting decisions that were made, especially with certain outcomes that we can't really discuss. But it feels like a character that I've not really had any information about, just kind of rose to power here. I don't really know much about him. We haven't really gotten to know him very much throughout these episodes, especially since the last time jump. What was it, last episode, where this character kind of sprouted again?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's definitely with everything that has been happening, everything with Rhaenyra's children. And then, of course, you have Alicent's children. You have, Aegon, who is the technical firstborn son of the entire of Viserys's line. Even though, Rhaenyra is his firstborn child altogether. But I do agree to a point, but I'll let you finish up here and I'll give my thoughts.
Yeah, there's some once again there's some action built up at the end, which they've been doing these past few weeks, which definitely works out well. I think there's two very specific characters that are sidelined this episode that are just waiting to be unleashed in the finale. You just know they are ready to wreak some havoc eventually when they hear some of the news that has been dropped in the world, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. So I think it's good that we know that they're coming more than likely, and that it's going to be some drama. It's going to be a bloodbath probably.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like that is something that you can come out and say since this is dropping after the episode. Rhaenyra and Daemon are not in this episode at all. This is all about the Green Council. This happens literally like a day or two after the king dies, which we have seen in episode 8. So, they're on Dragonstone doing their own thing. But, things, especially what happened towards the end of episode 8, when Viserys is in his deathbed, and he's talking to Alicent, even though I don't, he's not in his right state of mind. I think he thinks he's talking to Rhaenyra, and Alicent overhears him saying, "Oh, the prince that was promised." He's actually talking about Aegon the Conqueror's vision, and that is why he, when he came to conquer Westeros and all, forge, uniting the seven kingdoms together. I guess you can kind of view it as like a technicality, and we see the aftermath of like the day, or 2 days, about 2 days after of this miscommunication in a way, because obviously we know that Viserys is not talking about Aegon, his son, but Alicent takes it as, our son Aegon, as she said in episode 8, and the episode kind of runs with it from there. Obviously, she was the only person there to hear what Viserys was saying.
She was in the room when it happened.
Yeah, she right. I mean, we don't really, but yeah, it kind of goes from there. She takes that notion and she runs with it within this episode, and we start to see the curiosity start to pop up within this episode. We start to see a lot of allegiances change, a lot of usurping that is going on, especially with Alicent's children, and it feels like they're going on it feels like Alicent's trying to, or at least the Green Council altogether, it's trying to justify this all on what is a technicality of what they think is a technicality, but it's just one big misunderstanding.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm on their side too, because the character I was mentioning earlier obviously was Prince Aegon. Like, I feel like we have not had much time with him as a character.
Yeah, I do agree, and yeah, that's definitely not a spoiler. It's like I said, since this is coming out after, but overall, we just see these events start to unfold. We see Aegon get a little bit of cold feet towards, or actually in this episode.
They're playing some hide and seek.
Yeah, definitely. It's very, it is a slower episode, but unlike Game of Thrones, the actual series, usually what would happen, and I think I've mentioned it in one of our reviews before, is that the formula, I guess you could say, for Game of Thrones is that the penultimate episode was like the climax of the entire series, or the season, of each season. Like Blackwater Bay, that was episode 9 of the Battle of Blackwater Bay was episode 9 of season 2. And, episode 10 of season 2 was kind of the aftermath. It seems that, at least for this season of House of the Dragon, since there's a lot of time jumps here, it seems this is a very necessary episode, because like we said, Rhaenyra is on Dragonstone. So is Daemon, all their kids, like all 6 of them, or all together, they're all there. And clearly
the brunettes,
right? the blondes and the brunettes. Clearly they are not there during this episode to hear the news of King Viserys's passing. And of course, we're seeing Alicent's children rise to power, and Rhaenyra is not there to defend herself, and it is very crucial. Like, this is the setup, and payoff is going to be episode 10. That episode, it's going to be bonkers, because that is when word travels to Rhaenyra and Daemon. There's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like they're kind of, based on what you've said, it feels like they're mixing up the formula and kind of having the finale have the big climax instead of the penultimate.
Yeah, and earlier this week, George R.R. Martin, being the kind man that he is, of course, he had said that in order to tell the Dance of the Dragons properly, we would need at least 4 seasons, 10 episodes to tell it properly. I think HBO should be wise to listen to him this time around. Unfortunately, when it came to the later seasons in Game of Thrones, I feel like Benioff and Wise got a little bit too big for their britches, and they kind of casted George away. And George pleading to HBO saying, hey, I think, Game of Thrones can go on for at least 10 seasons. And they kind of turn around and, they kind of talked to Benioff and Wise about it, the showrunners, and they felt like they can do it in 8. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just this time around, let's correct a few mistakes so we don't repeat the same things. Let's not have history repeat itself. But overall, this episode is so it is a good episode. Like I said, it's just not a lot happens, but Rhaena, the queen that never was, she makes some power moves this episode, and that's all I'll say, because she is not happy either. So I'm going to leave it at that. But that was pretty much my initial thoughts as well. But Devin, did you have any final thoughts about this episode before we close out here?
Yeah, this episode, like you mentioned, not a lot goes on, but I think they're doing a good job of setting up, hopefully, a big finale.
Yeah, definitely. For my final thoughts, it's just, it is the calm before the storm. And Lord of the Rings just finished up with their season finale, and I think they did a phenomenal job. I know a lot of people are going to be comparing both of the shows, and people are already comparing House of the Dragon season 1 to Game of Thrones season 1. I wouldn't make either of those comparisons to either Rings of Power or season
I've seen
1.
people throw She-Hulk into there, and it's just like, what are we even doing at that point? Comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, that's very odd. It's the whole rating thing, and House of the Dragon is a phenomenal show. There are some great moments that I would throw into the entire, amazing moments of Game of Thrones altogether, because that is just, it's pretty much all underneath one umbrella. But, season 1 of Game of Thrones is so different, and it's just different. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I think I prefer season 1 of Game of Thrones just because it is so faithful to those books. And it is more of a slow burn, but the biggest issue that we've had with House of the Dragons that people aren't super crazy about is the time jumps. We're spending enough time with certain characters, but not all of them. And that's what Game of Thrones does so well. But I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, final thoughts, great penultimate episode. It is, like I said, Rhaenyra is not going to be happy.
Oh, yeah. And Daemon as well.
Yeah. Usurping happens a lot in Game of Thrones, but this is so different because there's a lot, Viserys passes away. It doesn't make sense that he would change his mind as to who the heir may or may not be on his deathbed to one person. That seems a little shifty to me, but I'm just going to leave it at that. So with all that said, that concludes our spoiler-free review of episode 9 of House of the Dragon. Again, that is titled The Green Council. And really quick, just wanted to hammer it home for episode 10. That is going to be a full-on spoiler episode. We're probably not going to get to that until maybe the day after the premiere. We're not going to be receiving pre-screeners for that because, again, Warner Brothers does not want to, they don't want people spoiling it. And unfortunately, people do. And there's a lot of book readers out there that have been spoiling things on Twitter as well, which I'm not super crazy about, or Reddit or wherever you are online. But overall, I just want to let you guys know that. But if you like what you heard on today's episode, please consider subscribing to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform of choice, and make sure to share an episode of our podcast with a friend, whether it be your mother, your brother, your lover, whoever it may be. Make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a movie lover in need. And really quick, what's coming up? Like we said before, this is coming out like 10 p.m. on a Sunday. So our Halloween Ends review will be coming out early next week. The one I want to say October, maybe the 18th, the 17th, it really just depends. Definitely follow us on Twitter, again, at Film Optix for that, because it's weird with this being out. We can't do pre-coverage for this anymore. So this has to be out by like 10 p.m. Eastern on a Sunday. And then going into another episode, we kind of want to, space it out just a little bit for all of our listeners out there. But of course, we're also going to be covering Black Adam that hits theaters the weekend of the 20th. I believe it's the 20th, or is it the 27th? I think it's the 20th. I believe so. I think so. But regardless, that is another episode that we're going to be covering here on the show. Of course, we're going to be looking forward to our House of the Dragon finale. Again, that'll be dropping next week, probably the Monday after the finale airs. And what's out right now that you can actually listen to, you can listen to our She-Hulk Attorney at Law finale. We just finished that a few days ago for people to listen to. We had a lot of fun there. And also our Werewolf by Night and our the Midnight Club review, which is a spoiler-free review for everyone out there to listen to. So we have a lot of stuff out. Feel like we're going to be slowing it down just a little bit after. I mean, House of the Dragon's almost over. Once we're done there, it's smooth sailing for a bit. But with all that said, we hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you all for listening. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay in the know. That was Devin. My name is Christian, and we'll see you guys in Westeros.
Peace.